Amidst the boundless landscape of North America emerged a legend whose name would resonate with indomitable courage. Tҷatҷáŋka Íyotake, a name which speaks leadership, unwavering determination, and cultural pride, drew his first breath within the Hunkpapa Lakota Sioux tribe during the early 1830s. This legend grew up to be recognized as the iconic Sitting Bull, a leader who was truly a testament of the Native American heritage. As a young warrior, he displayed exceptional skill and bravery in battles against rival tribes, and later, in resisting the westward expansion of the United States. However, his role as a spiritual leader and visionary set him apart. Sitting Bull's prophetic visions provided guidance and strength to his people, urging them to stand united against the tide of colonization that threatened their traditional way of life. The Sitting Bull's legacy was marked by an unwavering resistance against encroaching settlers and the US government, representing the enduring struggle of indigenous peoples in North America during the late 19th century. In this captivating historical video brought proudly by Native People Journals, we will explore his rise as a warrior, diplomat and spiritual leader, and of course, his pivotal role in the Battle of Little Bighorn, where he led Lakota and Cheyenne forces to a stunning victory against General Custer's 7th Cavalry, cementing his reputation as a military strategist and symbol of resistance. Additionally, we will examine the complex relationships between Sitting Bull and American officials, including his surrender in exile to Canada, his survival, and ultimately, his death. Before we get right into the video, kindly like this video and hit the subscribe button for more in-depth videos on the history of great Native Americans. Sitting Bull was born around the year 1830 in a place near the Grand River in present-day South Dakota. He was born into an influential Hunkpapa Lakota family, as his father and two uncles were chiefs in the tribe. His father was the Jumping Bull, and his mother was popularly called the Her Holy Door. The Hunkpapa were one of 7 bands of the Lakota Sioux, known for their warrior tradition and tenacity. This lineage greatly influenced Sitting Bull's upbringing, as he was immersed in a culture that highly valued bravery, martial skills, and leadership. At birth, he was named Jumping Badger, and was later called Slow because he did everything carefully and patiently. In Lakota culture, names held significant meaning and often changed as individuals grew and accomplished significant feats. At 14, a significant event in Sitting Bull's life marked his transition into manhood and solidified his reputation as a brave young warrior within the Lakota Sioux tribe. This transformative moment occurred during a daring raid on a Crow warrior camp, a journey that included Sitting Bull's father and his uncle alongside other Lakota warriors. Young Sitting Bull, displaying extraordinary courage and determination, rode ahead of the party during the raid and countered coup on a surprised Crow warrior. This is a highly regarded act among the Lakota warriors, which involves striking an enemy in battle by hand or with a stick, ensuring it does not cause harm. According to the Lakota tradition, this bravery earned him a glorious pass into manhood. Upon returning to camp after the successful raid, Sitting Bull's father recognized his son's bravery and leadership potential. He wasted no time throwing a huge party in the presence of the entire Lakota band. He then decided to confer a new name upon his brave son, marking his transition into adulthood and his blossoming role as a Lakota warrior. The name bestowed upon Sitting Bull during this significant ceremony was the Tҷatҷáŋka Íyotake in the Lakota language. Translated, it roughly means buffalo who sits down. As a result of this ceremony, Sitting Bull's father underwent a name change himself. He became known as Jumping Bull, marking a generational shift and the passing of responsibilities from father to son. In addition to the new name, Sitting Bull's father gave his son several meaningful gifts. These included an eagle feather to be worn in his hair, symbolizing honor and spirituality, a warrior's horse, symbolizing prestige and mobility, and a hardened buffalo hide shield, symbolizing protection and strength. Sitting Bull became part of 2 important groups, the Strong Heart Warriors and the Silent Eaters, who looked out for the tribe's well-being. Within the Strong Heart Society, Sitting Bull honed his martial skills. He learned the art of warfare, making him a formidable force in battles with rival tribes and later with American forces during the turbulent years of westward expansion. The Silent Eaters, sometimes known as the Hunkpapa, were a group within the Lakota society dedicated to ensuring the welfare and unity of the tribe. They played a crucial role in maintaining the Lakota way of life and addressing internal issues, particularly those related to scarcity of resources and tribal disputes. Sitting Bull's involvement with the Silent Eaters highlighted his commitment to the broader well-being of the Lakota Sioux. As a member of this group, he participated in decision-making processes and efforts to secure resources for the tribe, particularly in times of scarcity. Notably, the Silent Eaters expanded Sioux hunting grounds, which significantly contributed to the tribe's sustenance. This expansion brought the Lakota into contact with other indigenous groups, including the Assiniboine, Crow, and Shoshone, who inhabited the Western Territories. As Sitting Bull grew older, his reputation as a fearless warrior continued to grow. His courage in battle became well known among his people and earned him great respect within his tribe. His generosity and wisdom also became virtues highly admired by those around him. As he transitioned from youth to adulthood, Sitting Bull's prowess in combat reached exceptional levels. He gained an impressive war record through numerous skirmishes and battles with rival tribes such as the Assiniboine, Crows, Flatheads, Blackfeet, and others. His bravery and leadership on the battlefield were so remarkable that in 1857 he received the esteemed title of Tribal War Chief. This recognition solidified his role as a prominent leader within the Lakota community. Simultaneously, Sitting Bull delved into the sacred traditions and mysteries of the Lakota people. He dedicated himself to mastering the spiritual and healing practices of his tribe, becoming both a shaman and a medicine man. His deep connection to the spiritual world and ability to heal and guide his people earned him the holy man. Sitting Bull's personal life was marked by several marriages and a growing family. He was known to have had at least 3 wives. Some sources even suggest he may have had as many as 5 wives throughout his life. Tragically, his first 2 wives died untimely, and the circumstances surrounding their deaths are unknown. Sitting Bull found companionship in his later years and fathered many children with his last 2 wives, 4 robes, and seen by the nation. These unions brought joy and a sense of continuity to his life as they bore him numerous offspring. Among his children, 2 stood out as his most cherished, a son named Crowfoot and a daughter named Standing Holy. These children held a special place in Sitting Bull's heart and were likely a source of great pride and comfort to him. In 1859, a Crow warrior had tragically killed Sitting Bull's father, marking a significant loss in his life. Despite this, his mother remained a powerful and influential presence in his teepee until her passing in 1884. Her enduring support and guidance contributed to the strength and resilience of Sitting Bull, who continued to play a pivotal role in the history and struggles of the Lakota people throughout his life. Now that you have an in-depth knowledge of his early life, let's look at his career as a political and spiritual leader. Don't hesitate to do so if you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel. In the middle of the 1800s, the United States was determined to move its territory westward, taking over land that belonged to Native American tribes like the Lakota Sioux. Americans flooded the land of the natives, especially after the discovery of gold. The expansion of American settlements and military forts disrupted traditional Lakota hunting grounds and encroached upon sacred lands, particularly the Black Hills. They competed with the tribes for lands and made most become strangers in their lands. And of course, this caused quite a lot of conflict. During this chaos, Sitting Bull emerged as a prominent and influential leader, demonstrating his commitment to defending Lakota lands and culture. The US government tried to use treaties to regulate and control the westward expansion of settlers. These agreements established boundaries and ensured peaceful coexistence between Native American tribes and incoming Americans. The Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1868 was one such attempt at diplomacy. This treaty, signed between the US government and the Lakota Sioux, among other tribes, recognized the Great Sioux Reservation, which included the Black Hills, as Lakota territory. It was intended to provide the Lakota people with a sense of security and autonomy. However, gold in the Black Hills presented an irresistible temptation for Americans seeking riches. The US government did little to honor the treaty and sought to obtain the land from the Lakota Sioux. The US War Department ordered Generals Alfred Howe Terry and Crook to begin removing the Sioux from their settlement in January 1876. Sitting Bull, like many other Native American leaders of his time, recognized the threat posed by the encroachment of Americans and sought to resist their presence. This resistance ultimately led to the Battle of Rosebud on June 17, 1876. Before the iconic battle, Sitting Bull had engaged in a spiritual ceremony called the Sun Dance, a ritual deeply ingrained in Lakota Sioux culture. During this ritual, he engaged in an act of profound self-sacrifice as a means to commune with Tjanka, the Great Spirit. Sitting Bull fervently offered prayers in a trance and slashed his arms repeatedly, totaling an astonishing 100 times. After this ceremony, Sitting Bull had a vision where he saw soldiers on horses falling into his camp. Their hats flew off as they fell, and a voice told him, "I'm giving these to you because they can't hear." The Lakota people believed this meant they would soon win a big battle against the soldiers in blue uniforms, which happened a few weeks later at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. In the days leading up to the Battle of the Rosebud, Sitting Bull and his followers had established a large encampment in the Little Bighorn Valley, not far from where the battle would occur. While he was not directly involved in the fighting, the presence of Sitting Bull and his encampment added to the overall tension in the region. The tension didn't quite get to the two US generals who thought they had planned out the battle brilliantly and believed it would end up in victory for them. With that in mind, they underrated Sitting Bull's troops, who were in alliance with Crazy Horse, also one of the Sioux' powerful war chiefs. While Crook troops were journeying towards the Rosebud Valley, they let their horses graze the fields and took a short break, letting their guard down. In a split second, 500 Sioux warriors launched a brutal ambush against the Crook troops, killing about 20 men and injuring several others. Sitting Bull was said to have lost only about 13 of his men. The Battle of the Rosebud did not halt the US government's efforts to subdue the Lakota Sioux and other tribes. Instead, it intensified the conflict in the region, leading to further confrontations in the coming weeks, including the more famous Battle of the Little Bighorn, which occurred approximately 8 days after the Rosebud Battle. The Battle of the Little Bighorn, also known as Custer's Last Stand, occurred on June 25, 1876 in Montana. It resulted from tensions between the Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes and the US government. These tensions were fueled by factors such as the encroachment of white settlers on Native American lands, broken treaties, and the desire of the US government to force Native Americans onto reservations. General George Armstrong Custer led the US 7th Cavalry Regiment on the opposing side. Custer was known for his aggressive tactics and reputation as a skilled military officer. The conflict began when Custer's forces approached the Little Bighorn River, where they encountered the massive encampment of Native American warriors. Custer divided his regiment into 3 battalions to surround the Native Americans. However, he underestimated the size and strength of the Native American force. Sitting Bull's strategic leadership was pivotal in the Native American victory. He advised his warriors to stand their ground and fight rather than scatter, as in previous encounters with the US military. This decision ensured a unified front and the effective use of tactics, such as encircling Custer's forces. The battle ended in a devastating defeat for Custer and his men. Custer and approximately 200 of his soldiers were killed in the engagement. It was a shocking and humiliating loss for the US military, as it was a rare instance of a large Native American force decisively defeating a well-equipped and trained US Army unit. The Native Americans had a brief time to celebrate their victory. The whole US was surprised and angry about General Custer losing and dying in the battle. The government realized that many Sioux could still fight, so they sent many more soldiers to the area. In the following year, these new American troops chased after the Lakota Sioux. By the late 1870s, the relentless pressure from US military campaigns, the depletion of buffalo herds, and the inability to secure adequate food and supplies for his people took a toll on Sitting Bull's followers. Fearing further bloodshed and hardship for the Lakota Sioux, Sitting Bull surrendered to the US government in 1881. Sitting Bull was taken into custody and briefly held at Fort Buford in North Dakota. He was then transferred to Fort Yates, a military post on the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Sitting Bull became a celebrity among Americans during his time in captivity. His renown as a warrior and leader led to him being invited to join Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show in 1885. Sitting Bull agreed to participate in the show, which toured throughout the United States and Europe. While in the show, he reenacted battles and showcased aspects of Lakota Sioux culture, including dances and traditional clothing. Sitting Bull's involvement in the Wild West show allowed him to earn a modest income and raise awareness about the plight of Native Americans. However, it was also a period of exile and separation from his people and traditional way of life. which he deeply cherished. In the year 1889, the show's European tour ended and Sitting Bull returned to the United States. During this time, the US government pursued policies to assimilate Native Americans and dismantle their tribal cultures. Sitting Bull eventually returned to the Standing Rock Reservation in 1890. He advocated for his people, speaking out against the Dawes Act, which sought to break up tribal landholdings. His outspoken advocacy often brought him into direct conflict with Indian agents appointed by the US government, who were tasked with enforcing policies such as land allotment and assimilation efforts. These agents viewed Sitting Bull as threatening their authority and sought to undermine his influence among the Lakota Sioux. They believed that by arresting him, they could weaken the Lakota Sioux' resolve to resist government policies. On December 15, 1890, 39 Indian policemen, led by Lieutenant Henry Bullhead, arrived at Sitting Bull's residence on the Standing Rock Reservation in South Dakota. Their mission was to arrest Sitting Bull, whom they considered a troublemaker and a symbol of resistance against government policies. As the Indian police attempted to enter Sitting Bull's cabin to make the arrest, they were met with staunch resistance from his supporters. Sitting Bull himself refused to cooperate and resisted arrest. The situation quickly escalated into violence. A scuffle broke out between Sitting Bull's supporters and the Indian police. One of Sitting Bull's staunch supporters, Catch the Bear, a Lakota, fired a poor shot at Lieutenant Bullhead with his rifle. In a split, Bullhead responded by firing a shot into the Sitting Bull's chest. As if taking the cue, Red Tomahawk, another Indian police officer, targeted a shot at the Sitting Bull's head, which ultimately took his life between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. By the end of the scuffle, the Lakotas had killed about 8 police officers, including Bullhead. However, 7 of Sitting Bull's men lost their lives, along with their leader. Sitting Bull's body was transported to Fort Yates, a Sioux North Dakota city, where he was laid to rest on December 17, 1890. In 1953, relatives from the Lakota community conducted the exhumation of what they believed to be the remains of Sitting Bull, relocating them for reburial close to Mobridge, South Dakota, his hometown. At this new resting place, a monument was erected in his honor. Sitting Bull's enduring legacy is an emblem of Native American resilience and cultural pride. He is celebrated for his steadfast dedication to safeguarding Lakota Sioux traditions and standing against the pressures of colonization. Sitting Bull is commemorated through various means, including statues, monuments, and educational programs. His story continues to be taught in schools and universities as part of Native American history. That brings us to the end of the thrilling biography of the Sitting Bull. Thank you for paying rapt attention till the end. If you have yet to like this video or hit that subscribe button, kindly do so without hesitation till next time.